Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Waking up in the morning, they'd be like,
hey, can I tell you a story?
I know.
Here's a story about this, and a story about that, and a story about this, a story about that.
But dude, all you gotta do is this. All you gotta do is this. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Back on a Sunday again. This week on the 26th, which would have normally been the 27th of October 2014. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Stuart.
And we'll be here with you for the next 90 minutes or so, going through, as usual, the latest bit of movie news, look at the UK box office top 10, then look at these UK cinema releases.
Guillermo del Toro presents animated film by director Jorge, even though it's Jog, but it's pronounced Jorge, R. Gutierrez with The Book of Life. David Ayer, which you heard a clip there from End of Watch at our little bit of intro, directs Fury starring Brad Pitt. We have a small little Australian horror film called The Babadook, and a movie that's had a really strange release. It hasn't been released in the US. We're getting it. It's got no release date in the US. In Serena, starring Bradley Cooper and
Jennifer Lawrence.
I forgot her name there.
Yeah, shameful.
I know.
After that, then also, as usual, we'll go into our look at the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 in our home releases section, and then these also new releases in the home release section.
Yeah, the Y movie of the week with comedy in huge, massive inverted commas. Mrs. Brown's Boys movie. You have Gareth Edwards' take on Godzilla. A small little drama in Hide Your Smiling Faces, science fiction film The Anomaly, and comedy horror All Cheerleaders Die.
As well as our look at a couple of TV movies of the week to look out for, and then our recommendation out of these movies, which one we recommend to see, which ones we probably will recommend not to see. I'm expecting one of those in that DVD list will be getting that sort of nomination.
Possibly two.
Yeah. If you do hear any weird noises during the show, don't worry. As much as we are coming into Halloween, we're not doing anything special or freaky or anything like that. It's just the wind, because where I am situated at the moment, it seems as if the wind kind of wants to be like wolves and knock down houses and stuff. So hopefully I will survive the entirety of the show.
Yeah, so, he's going to get sucked away into the land of Oz.
Oh yeah, I could do that. That would be better than getting blown away by the big bad wolf.
That sounds really wrong. By the way, I expect you to have the ruby slippers by the end of this show, and you can create an interesting wish.
Oddly enough, I don't normally. I'm not ruby ones, but I am wearing slippers right at this moment.
Okay, roll on, Grandpa.
Oh, that's just harsh. That's just so harsh. Okay, movie news. I'll just go through mine because I know you've got a whole load. I've just got one piece of news. The long-delayed Fast and Furious sequel that originally had been left untitled has now been confirmed as being Furious 7, in line with the sixth film's Fast 6. It's been confirmed for an April 2015 release. The movie was delayed due to the non-related death of actor Paul Walker, and underwent rewrites and reshoots to account for his character's departure from the series. A trailer is now expected to be released in the next week, sometime leading up to next Sunday.
Are they going to call the eighth one And 8 or The 8?
I was just thinking. I was looking at that as I was going through earlier. I'm thinking Furious 8 wasn't Furious 8 something in something. It was like a characters or something. The Furious 8. It was somebody and the Furious 8. I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure there was something like, I don't know, maybe a martial arts thing. So you probably won't know it because you don't like martial arts stuff.
No, I don't like martial arts stuff.
I'm sure there was something like that. Something and the Furious 8. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with the 8th one, because they are supposedly making 7 and 8 still, because they had plans to do 7 and 8 back to back, but then Paul Walker was killed and everything was kind of thrown into a disarray. But I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, a bitter film, a bitter pill to swallow with his departure and his death, but I'm looking forward to it because it's a series that I enjoy, and it's a series that, despite the last one not being as good as the fifth one, it's a series that has delivered each movie.
Sort of.
Yeah, well, I don't like the second one much, but
What I have to agree on, though, it is probably the strongest series that's gone beyond, I would say, 4 films. If you look at, say, for instance, the Hellraiser series, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, getting away from horror, things like X-Men in a way, but can they be classed as a sort of?
Because if you look at the spin-off ones, didn't it? Well, I mean, saying that, but then we had Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift was a spin-off one, which is now being rewritten to tie in with it all now. So it's
so it is like the strongest, long-running series. So movies that have gone past like a certain amount, like the 5 amount, normally after like 3. It seems to start dragging its feet a little bit, but it managed to reboot itself, and when it did reboot itself, it worked with Fast and Furious, which is the 5th one. So unlike with series, when they try to reboot themselves, say for example, A Nightmare on Elm Street, after A New Nightmare, which was the 7th one in the series, when it did the 8th one with Jackie Earl Haley, it was really bad. So when the Fast and Furious series rebooted itself, it was actually really good. So I would probably say it is the strongest one.
It'd just be interesting to see, because I think it was really down to Justin Lin, the reason why this franchise kept going. He kind of did what Paul Greengrass did for the Bourne series, in that because Paul Greengrass came in after Doug Liman did the first film, did the second and the third ones, and it went on to get better and better with each one. And Justin Lin's done the same thing, where he came in on the third one, did a kind of like a reboot thing that did it with characters that were nothing to do with the original one, and then went back to the original characters for 4 and 5 and 6. And then he's left it now, and it's James Wan, isn't it, that's done the last one, this one. Who I've not seen this stuff, because it's been horror mostly that he's been directing before, but I'm interested to see, where will it go from here? Will he carry on the same thing, or will he bring his own thing to it?
How a horror director handles a different genre, even though he's been like really comfortable in that genre for 10 years. The only film that can deviate from it in his list that he's done is Death Sentence.
Which is not a bad film either. I quite enjoyed that, so I guess we'll see. What else you got there for news?
Well, might as well stick with James Wan, because it's been confirmed that James Wan will return to direct the sequel to The Conjuring after signing a first-look deal with New Line. The director originally revealed that he was done with the horror genre after the completion of the first Conjuring movie by going on to direct Fast 7, or Furious 7 as it's called. I'm not going to get used to that title. Because he wanted to concentrate more on different genres. However, this deal that he's now signed with New Line, which is a first-look deal, will enable him to create movies that are in different genres rather than horrors. So he might become a producer on a horror film, but then go off and direct a comedy or an action film instead.
Well, it's James Wan. We're still going on sort of linked story, but I've not seen any of his stuff, so I can't really have any comment on this other than I'm looking forward to see what he does with Furious 7. So
it's sort of
have to come up with something. We're going to have to check. Are there going to be 7 characters? It's going to be something to tie it in with Furious 7. They're going to have to do something like that.
I don't know, but this one, it's more like what Joss Whedon's got with Marvel, and the fact that he helps out with the different films in the Marvel universe. James Wan is probably going to do that with New Line. He's probably going to help what Michael Bay did with his Platinum Dunes label. When he was rebooting a lot of films, he got different directors to come in and do the reboots of the film, yet he was producer on the movies. So maybe James Wan is going to be doing that. He's going to get different directors in, which is, by the looks of it, it's going to be the case, and help them out with, say, horror films, which he knows he's good at, and then him going off and doing a comedy or an action film, and then maybe he's handing the reins over to somebody else to take over the next part of that series and help him out in the production credit. So instead of
doing that, instead of getting Eli Roth back in to do Cabin Fever.
Yeah, well, Eli Roth is only going to be an executive producer on the new Cabin Fever. It's actually the Cabin Fever one is a complete just rehash of the first film. That's all it is. It's exactly the same script, but it's good for James Wan. At least he's doing something different. Warner Brothers have confirmed to Deadline that Phil Lord and Chris Miller will return to write the sequel to the Lego Movie. It's unknown, though, if they will direct the project.
I don't know, because now are they not doing 23 Jump Street? They've been sort of linked in with that, but maybe happening now as well. So I guess it'll be a question of which one they could come in. Obviously, the animation on the Lego Movie takes a while to do and isn't isn't something I think that needs to have them there. Whereas something like 23 Jump Street, where they've got actors that have got to be in there, with namely, no, I'm forgetting names.
Channing Tatum,
and
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. I keep getting Jonah Hill wrong. Ugh, annoying. Yeah, with the two of them obviously needing to be free, and then probably Ice Cube as well to be free as well, to be able to film a third Jump Street film. So I think maybe that will be edging them out of that, because of the fact it's something that will need to work out time wise.
Yeah, but they're only writing it. They haven't said that they're going to be directing it. They'll probably coerce. It's not due out anyway until 2017, and they'll probably coerce them into directing it. If they're going to write it, they're going to say, "Well, you're on the project now. Why don't you just direct it then?"
Yeah, but it's because of the fact that animation takes up that much more time directing than a conventional film. So they may not want to be. They may not want to be, or maybe one of them will do it. Maybe one of them will direct one, and one of them will direct the other.
Maybe, but direction in the animation stakes, the part which takes the most time is the animation of the characters. The directors can maybe go off and do a separate project. For example, like you've just mentioned there, one of them could stay on for like a month or a couple of months with that project, while the other one goes off and does something, and sort of like they flip around and do it that way, and then they come together creatively near to the end of their projects to piece them together. It might be messy, but it'll be an interesting way to handle a film. It's sort of like what Paco Plaza and, I can't remember, Juan Balaguero did with the Rex series. They both directed the first two, and then Paco Plaza did the third one, while Juan Balaguero went off and did a different film, and then Juan Balaguero is coming back to do Rec 4, while Paco Plaza goes off to do a different movie, and they're going to team up together to do the fifth and final one.
It's also interesting having the fact that there's two directors on the film, because it seems to be becoming a lot more common now, having two directors on one film. We've got the Wachowskis work together, we've got the brothers that directed the last Captain America and the next Captain America film. So,
yeah, the Russos.
Yeah, so we're seeing it quite a lot more, and maybe it does mean that then there's time for one to be focusing on one thing while the other's focusing on something else. Yeah,
and next week we're going to be reviewing a film called Extraterrestrial, which is done by the Vicious Brothers. And you've also got brothers called the Butcher Brothers, even though they're not actually brothers. You've still got them as well, and the ones who did.
Last week you had that film directed by the sisters.
Yeah, the Suska sisters.
Yeah.
So, and you've got the ones who did Alien vs Predator Requiem as well, which did Skyline. So
yeah, let's not talk about that. Yeah, let's not go into that.
More news. Marvel have announced that the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer has broken a world record by being viewed 34.3 million times globally. You can actually see the trailer on the website mindiemovieshow.co.uk. The previous record was Captain America Winter Soldier, which got 23.5 million views. Avengers Age of Ultron. I can't get my Ultron. Sound like Jonathan Ross now. Yes, Avengers Age of Ultron will be out in the UK on April the 24th and the 1st of May in the US, so we get it a week before them again.
Yeah, that's what's happened with all the Marvel films except for Guardians of the Galaxy, but I saw that a week early anyway, so haha.
What I find interesting though is, if that's the case, if they get if we get the Marvel films before America, why can't we get things like the clip that's going to be shown in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Tuesday at the same time?
I've got a suspicion that we might actually get it. I think we might get it on, because now Channel 4 is showing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
yeah, but they don't show it until Friday.
Yeah, but it's just because of the fact that it shows here, so they'll show it in the middle of the programme, because that's when people will be watching.
I know, but why can't we get the clip? Why can't we get the clip then before the US? If that's the case, we get the film before the US, so why can't we get the clip around about the same time or before the US, rather than us having to hunt it down online and then only getting to see it on TV when the programme itself airs? That's if it gets put in that
work in distribution.
It's bullplop. It's greedy bullplop. My last two news stories, quickly go over them, is more John Carter movies are going to happen after the rights was lost by Disney, and it's now gone back to its original owners. Yay.
I like the John Carter film. I have the 3D version of it. I've enjoyed it, and I've watched it more than once, and I've watched it and I quite thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not brilliant, but it's by no means as bad as people make it out to be, and it isn't entirely original. But what film is nowadays?
Yeah, and it's probably going to be called John Carter, Yes, We Are on Mars. Because why did they take the Mars part out of it?
Yeah, I mean, that was poor marketing, poor everything to do with that side of it from Disney, who completely futzed it up. They just really did.
Yeah, and final piece of news, one line, My Little Pony movie in 2017. That's all you need to know.
Not it. All I'm saying is reviewing, not it.
That's all you need to know. All I put in brackets right beside it was the word epic.
Epic. No, that's a contradiction in terms. How can it be little and be epic?
No, My Little Pony and then in brackets epic, referring to the movie, will be epic.
But it can't be an epic movie if it's about small things. It's no. No, not biting. Okay. UK box office top 10. Starting at number 10 with Northern Soul,
which we both haven't seen. It's a British film. It's also it was released on Blu-ray and DVD, and it managed to chart on the Blu-ray and DVD top 10 at number. I've got it written down somewhere. Number 4.
It's number 4.
So it did better on Blu-ray and DVD. It is one of those. We've seen a deluge of these kind of British films which involve setting in a specific period. This time it's set in the 70s in the beatnik area, and it's just about people who get really into the music and the dance scene of that area. And we have not seen the film itself. It looks interesting. We might catch it if we can, so we can comment on it on next week's show in the DVD section probably, because it's not going to be in the top 10 next week. I doubt it.
The Judge is at number 9, which is the Robert Downey Jr. produced and starring movie with him and Robert Duvall as father and son. You can guess who's who. In an issue where the father is accused of a murder and the son comes in to defend him, even though there's begrudging history with them. And it's very well put together. It's nicely handled. But the problem is, it's one of these films where the tone is wrong. It has these kind of 3 elements going on of the judge and the father and son story, the son coming back to his hometown and looking into his past and everything as well, and then also this murder courtroom thing. And the 3 things do not go well together. They really should have cut out one of them altogether, which is the one involving him looking back and meeting up with an old girlfriend played by I forget her name now as well. Terrible with names tonight. Vera Farmiga.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can think of the name. I mean, to make up for that. Sorry, it's not a common name. So, I know it's not really an excuse, but no. The thing with it is that it really could have done with her scene just being taken out of the film altogether, because it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. It's too long. Her scenes being taken out would have made it much smoother, much more succinct, and those two storylines of the court case and the father and son thing worked fine enough, perfectly fine on their own as it is. The Equalizer is at number 8.
Yeah, I'm not even interested in this film, to be honest.
Have you not seen it? I thought you had actually seen it.
No, I have not seen The Equalizer.
No? Okay, I'm curious to see what you think, because I really dislike it. It's not that I hate it, I just dislike it because of the fact that its treatment of the source material is palpable at best. It's a typical Denzel Washington film that you have nowadays, and that's not saying that it's a good Denzel Washington film. It's just average. I didn't think much of it. I didn't think much of the story. I didn't think much of the characters, and I thought it was a waste of material. I thought it was just basically they'd gone, here's Denzel Washington film. Let's call it The Equalizer for the sake of it, because it doesn't really seem to have anything to do with The Equalizer. At number 7 is Dracula Untold.
Yeah, it's okay for what it actually is. It is Universal's reboot of the Monsters universe, sort of like doing an Avengers with them, starting off with Dracula, and the next one they have confirmed is going to be The Mummy, and then after that it's Frankenstein, which it was going to be Daniel Radcliffe's next film after Horns, which we're reviewing next week. He's got another romantic comedy or drama coming out a couple of weeks later. But his next big film was going to be Frankenstein, but by the looks of it, Universal wanted a mummy film before Frankenstein. It's okay. Dominic Cooper is terrible in the movie. I just did not like him. Luke Evans is fine as Dracula, the character. I'm just glad they didn't go down the major cheesy route, because it could have gone down sort of like The Mummy, the Stephen Sommers film route, but I'm glad it didn't do that.
I can ask as well. Has there been any word about a werewolf, a Wolfman one? Because
There
that's
probably
the only
will
one that
be.
hasn't been so far, has there?
There probably will be a Wolfman. They'll have seen what's happened with the DC slate being released over the next 5-6 years. Also, Marvel sort of like laying out their slate as well for the next few years. Universal look at it and go, well, if we're doing exactly the same idea with our monster franchises, we're going to have to release what we're going to do over the next few years with different characters.
It's really interesting to see, as long as it doesn't turn out as disastrously as the last attempt at doing the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Number 6 is The Box Trolls.
Yeah, The Box Trolls is a very good animated film. It's Leica's third best film because I liked Coraline and Paranorman more so. But I love the stop motion animation in this one. It's grimy, it's gooey, it's nasty in areas where you expected it to be. The main bad guy has a malevolence to it rather than just being very stereotypical and one-dimensional. He really does look really strange, switching from being the human sort of like child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang to looking like Cruella de Vil in these sort of like female guys. So it's melding different nightmarish characters that you would have seen in different films together to create something much more interesting.
And it's surprising that he's voiced by Ben Kingsley as well.
Yeah, handled brilliantly.
Yeah. A new entry, not even. Oh god, I'm doing it too. A new entry at number 5 for The Best of Me.
Yeah, it's a Nicholas Sparks, based on a Nicholas Sparks novel. If you've seen any of Nicholas Sparks' stuff, you only need to actually see one of his movies, to be honest, because they follow exactly the same blueprint. There's a guy who's attractive, who's really good at swimming, who's really good at building stuff. He falls in love with the girl. At first, they don't get on with each other. Exactly, it's the snore-inducing stuff. You only need to see one of his films to get what he does, but they do really well because they have an audience. This one's got James Marsden in it. And so it's just, pass. It is a pass kind of movie, not our kind of stuff.
The Maze Runner at number 4.
Which is, it's a fine film for what it is. It's a fine start to, again, a new franchise. As with the Universal Monsters, this is part of a 5-book franchise, which they're not changing the last one into 2 films, thank God. It's like I said, it's a concrete start with what they do in the film. It seems rushed at times, and it seems like they've lost the way a little bit when trying to craft an ending which could lead into a next film, a second film. But the ideas, what they've got there, are solid.
At number 3 is Annabelle.
Yeah, I have a major qualm with Annabelle, and I'll get onto that when I review The Babadook. But Annabelle itself is a standalone film. It's a spin-off from The Conjuring, and The Conjuring is a much better film because this one has just gotten very few ideas. The director of it, he was the visual effects guy who worked on a lot of James Wan's movies, including The Conjuring. And I'm guessing the people behind behind Annabelle could not get James Wan to do it because he went off and did Fast 7 or Furious 7 as it's known as now. So Annabelle just feels like a very lackluster spin-off film.
Gone Girl's dropped down to number 2.
Yeah, dropped down to number 2, 14 million in its pocket. It needs to take another 9 million in its run in the UK box office to overtake the highest grossing 18-rated film, which was The Wolf of Wall Street. But Gone Girl is a brilliant film up until the last 20 minutes, where it just overstays its welcome too much.
And which means the new number 1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I've seen the film twice, surprisingly. And the second time, it's not as bad as the first time. Just because the first time I had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing at the back of my head, I was a big fan of the original film, even though it doesn't hold up very well now. Big fan of the original cartoon series. I hate the animation style in the new series. It's just really bad. This is not too bad. It is still pretty rotten compared to the blockbuster movies that you expect, but because the fact that it is directed by Jonathan Liebesman and not helmed by Michael Bay, some of the Bayisms are actually just reeled back a little bit. The set piece that's set on the mountain, that's really well handled, and the snowy mountains is really well handled, and there is a couple of humorous scenes, specifically from Michelangelo. There was one scene the second time which I laughed at, and I didn't laugh at the first time, which involves them getting a major boost of adrenaline, and Michelangelo just running around going, "Look, I'm fine!" But he's actually speeding around like a whippet. So I found that funnier the second time rather than the first time. But it's not as bad as a lot of people make out. Still not very good.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not great. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Okay, that's it for the UK box office top 10. Let's go into our first of our 4 cinematic reviews we've got this week.
Yes, it's The Book of Life. It's presented by Guillermo del Toro. He's a producer on the series itself, the film itself. It's directed by Jorge R. Gutierrez, who's worked on a lot of Nickelodeon animated programs. So this is his first big screen debut. It centres around, the start of the film, centres around a bus full of school children who are taken to the museum. They expect them to be just shown around the basic side when they're actually took away by the guide to a specific area of the museum that's coordinated off. And she tells them about a thing called the Book of Life, and the story centered around a Mexican town called San Angel and 2 gods, La Muerte, who rules the land of the remembered, where people, when they pass away, they go to and they are remembered by other people in the normal life. And then also Zybalba, who rules the land of the forgotten, which is people who go there who are not remembered by anybody. So if the town where they died is completely wiped out, then the people in the land of forgotten are just forgotten about. Now, those two decide to create a wager with each other. If they can make a certain person fall in love with Maria, who's voiced by Zoe Saldana, they get to rule both lands together. And so the 2 boys in question are Manolo, who's voiced by Diego Luna, and Joaquin, who's voiced by Channing Tatum. Now, Manolo has the son of a bullfighter, and Joaquin is the son of a person who protects the town of San Angel, and his father's passed away. Manolo's father hasn't passed away, and they are best friends. Even with Maria, they are really good friends. Maria is sent away off to school to learn in different countries. When she comes back at an older age, they're both still fighting for the love of Maria. Here's a clip.
What did I miss? Wait a sec. Did he propose to?
No. Were you going to?
What? Well, I proposed first, so go fight a bull or something.
You 2 are acting like fools.
Wait, me too?
Oh, you're so strong, Joaquin. Thanks, I work out a lot. I love you, you know that. But how are you going to protect Maria if you can't even finish a bull?
Oh, yeah? Well, you will never be as great a hero as your father.
Oh, you better get your finger out of my face.
You don't point at me.
I'm the best pointer you have seen. That's so stupid, so childish. Joaquin! Come at me, bro.
Manolo!
Huh? What? You wanted a banjo?
Now, Manolo is tricked by Zalbalba into getting bitten by this 2-headed snake. He's then sent to the land of the remembered, where he has to hunt down his family to try and get back to the present land, and also try to stop an evil person, Shakal, who is trying to get this medal that Joaquin has managed to get to protect himself all this time. Now, for the first 45-50 minutes of the film itself, it is just setting up the town of San Angel and sort of like the friendship between Manolo, Maria, and Joaquin. So that is in the first 45-50 minutes of the film. It's not until you get to the last part where you get the challenge from Shakal and the fact that Zalbalba has managed to get his way onto San Angel and trick Manolo in being bitten by this 2-headed snake. Now, the animation in the film is beautiful. It's really well animated, especially when you get to the land of the remembered. The colours just absolutely fly off the screen. They pop in every direction. When you get to the land of the forgotten, it goes really dark and everything is sucked out of it. And again, that looks really nice. So the animation is handled brilliantly. It's very marionette kind of look to them. You can see the joints on their arms and on their legs, and they look like pieces of wood when in fact it is animation. It's sort of like when you watch the Lego movie for the first time, you think, did they actually do that with proper Lego bricks? When in fact they're actually animated Lego bricks. So when the animation is like that, it's miraculous, it's beautiful to look at. The problem with the film though is that the first 45 minutes just drags a little bit too much. It's just a very simplistic premise. is just stretched over too much of a running time. The 45 minutes, you don't want to spend that amount of time just going, oh, those three characters are friends, those two characters are going to have a rivalry trying to get the heart of Maria. It's not needed that long. It's just when you get to the last half an hour, that's when all the big stuff that you see in the trailer happens. And so that's when the audience that I went to view it with was actually sitting up in the seat and paying more attention to it. That's when they were enjoying themselves. They were getting a bit restless with the first 45 minutes. It's not to say the overall package is bad. It's actually a good film. Just let down by the first, I would say, a third to 2/4 of the film.
Okay, on to Fury, which is written and directed by David Ayer. It is a movie set in 1945 at the end of, or coming up towards the end of the Second World War, and follows on a tank crew led by their leader, their commanding officer, played by Brad Pitt. He plays the man nicknamed War Daddy as the man who controls them. You have in the tank as well, you have characters played by Shia LaBeouf. You have Michael Pena, and you have John Bernthal as well in there, along as joining them, sort of drafted into the situation because the assistant driver of the tank has been killed previously to the start of the film. He's brought in and basically put in the tank as a person who's no war experience whatsoever. Logan Lerman's character has no war experience at all. He's there drafted. He's normally working a typewriter somewhere, and finds himself stuck in a situation where he then has to kill. He's, though, not particularly well sort of used to this. He's not killed anyone yet, so he's not sort of had that sort of... He's had to deal with that himself and deal with that situation, finds himself against that sort of situation and difficulty doing that, which results in some other soldiers being killed, and results in Brad Pitt's character basically taking up to a captured German soldier and basically saying to him, kill him, or you're going to end up not helping anyone in this war. You're going to end up getting people killed. Here's a clip.
Why are you here? You're here to kill him. You know why he's here? He's here to kill you. He's here to kill you, Norman. He's here to rip your throat out and pull out your... Trying to teach you something. You here to get me killed? You're gonna get me killed? No. I need you to perform. Just get it over with. Just get it over with.
I can't do it.
Yes, you can. I know you can. He kills you, or you kill him. Simple math. You or him. Pick.
Just
Come
kill
here.
me. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. Please. I can't do it. Stop. Stop.
Oh, no. That's the easy part. Please don't make me do it. It's all right. 1, 2. Do it, Norman. Do it, Norman. Do it, Norman.
So it's kind of like, it's almost sort of like Saving Private Ryan, but in a tank, and focusing on the characters in the tank and the crew in that respect. It's in the way that it's like Saving Private Ryan is that it doesn't shy away from showing the grittiness, the grimness, the oppression, the horror there is of war, and the graphic brutality that there is of war. With both first of all, obviously there are war sequences in it where people are being shot and things are happening, and also then the brutality between the people when they're not at war, and showing how the characters have been affected. And it's well done in that respect. It's also David Ayer doing something different, but yet doing a lot of the same thing, because it's very much got that kind of the crew banter and the crew, them being together and their interactions with each other, which is what he does. Only in previous films it's been sort of set in a police situation, whereas here it's a war situation, soldiers. So it's not bringing a massive amount of new material, new things to it. That said, though, it does some really good work with it. Shia LaBeouf is better than he's ever been before on film. Michael Pena is just as good as he's ever been before. Logan Lerman is good, but Brad Pitt is just basically not sleeping through the, but he's not. It doesn't. It's not really requiring anything a lot from him for it. And the one big problem I'd say with it is the fact of that there's moments in the middle of the film where it slows down, and in particular one moment where it slows down at a village, and it becomes this sort of thing which focuses on Pitt's character and Lerman's character and sort of their friendship or their commander soldier relationship, and then the other soldiers all come in and sort of interrupt things and show how much they've kind of become animals having been in war and much, and it kind of feels a bit mismatched, miscut, and the film's 2 hours and 15 minutes long, so that could have easily been trimmed or cut out because it does drag at that part. But the film is at its best when it's at the bits when it's in the tank, in the claustrophobia of them all, especially, and really well edited and put together when there's a couple of moments when they are fighting other tanks or fighting in a war situation, and it's the way they're shouting out the orders, they're following through it. The shots show the space of the tank and where everything is, and all where all the shells are and all that, and there's a loading them, and it's really nicely put together that you have that tension and that pressure and that claustrophobia to it that really does make for a great atmosphere. It's just this little bit in the middle that kind of really lets the film down. So it's worth seeing if you like war movies. It's very grim, it's very dark. Don't expect it to be a happy war movie. You come out the end smiling. You come out the end and you feel gut punched, because it is a gut punching film, but it's a good film.
So if Shia LaBeouf is under the right guys, under the right hands, in this case David Ayer, they can actually get a proper performance out of it rather than being the knob that he is, to be honest. Because if you look at him when he worked alongside Lars von Trier with Nymphomaniac, in the promotional material that he did for Nymphomaniac, he went to Cannes with a paper bag on his head because he just didn't want people to take photos of him, because he is a bit of a donkey, to be honest. I think his head grew too much after doing the Transformers series and him going, I'm unstoppable. So is this the case where, under the guise of somebody like David Ayer, a person who directs very serious, straightforward films, they can get a proper performance out of him?
I think it's a mix of that and also the writing, because David Ayer is a good writer, and also being a writer and director, he'll know what he wants from his cast when he brings them on, and he'll have a lot of that will be in the script. And the thing that's interesting about LaBeouf's character in this is that he is his nickname in the crew, they've all got their nicknames. His is Bible, because he is the religious one of the bunch. He is the one who's always going on about God and stuff like that, and that's what makes his character, gives his character something interesting in it as well. So it's not only that he's probably directed well, but he's also written well as well.
Is Brad Pitt's character, does his overshadow everybody's? Considering the name of Brad Pitt attached to the film, does he overshadow everybody, or does each one of the actors being able to hold their own?
He does get more of a screen time than the others, but I didn't feel that it was, it's a Brad Pitt film. He's there. He's definitely got more of a presence, but it's kind of like he wasn't. I don't know if it's intentional, because, as I say, he's not bringing everything he can to the role. But then at the same time, if he had, it may have become more of a Brad Pitt vehicle instead of a war film with Brad Pitt in it.
Sort of like with World War Z. He plays the lead role in World War Z, and he's practically in every shot.
Yeah, his presence definitely overshadowed World War Z. That's not here. That's not happening in this film.
That's a good thing, then. Before I do the Babadook, do you just want to quickly go over Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day? Because it got released properly in the UK on Friday as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is a Disney film which is let's say it's basically it's in the guise of the old style Disney films. We have a family of characters with Steve Carell, Jennifer Garner being the father and mother. You have these 3 kids, 4 kids. The second youngest of which is played by Ed Oxenbould, I believe it is, who plays Alexander, the title character, who has let's put it, a terrible day, and then wishes for his whole family to understand what it's like to have a terrible day. Except then, obviously, his wish comes true, and they have a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day instead. It is nothing remarkable. It's nothing special. It's enjoyable. Has some laughs in it. Nothing especially brilliant, given that it's a PG, so it doesn't have anything that kind of pushes boundaries, and it's one of those Disney attempting to be insulting to nobody films, and it's good, okay in that respect. It's fine. It's good, something like a family film to take the kids along to. I wouldn't say it especially needs to be sought out though, because of the fact that there's a lot more enjoyable and better films out there that you can watch instead. It's probably one of those ones to wait until it comes out on DVD if you're really desperate to see it because you really like Jennifer Garner or you like Steve Carell. But even then, I mean, I'm not a fan of Steve Carell. I know Jennifer Garner from stuff, but I'm not a massive fan of hers. And I don't mind them either in this, but if I was a fan of either of them and I was really looking to see them in something, I would be disappointed with this.
I thought like 3 for 1 there, didn't I? Because you probably weren't expecting me to mention that because it was officially released in the UK, so it'll go properly into the top 10. Because
I didn't dislike it. It was very, it was okay.
Yeah, when it was released in Scotland, it only went in at number 24 because it was only shown on 33 screens. So it has got a wider release. Don't know how well it'll do considering it's gone up against The Book of Life, and I think that'll do better than the film itself. So we'll see when the box office top 10 comes out on Wednesday, which will go up on the site MondayMovieShow.co.uk.
Okay, then, so The Babadook.
Yeah, The Babadook. Duck. You have to actually do it like that, add on the extra duck.
Let me see if I can... Babadook.
Duck. You missed the duck. You'll get what it sounds like in the clip one. We'll play it in a couple of moments' time. It's directed by Jennifer Kent and written by Jennifer Kent. This is her directorial debut. It's based on a short film of hers called Intruders, which you can find on YouTube. Highly recommend you watching it. It's black and white. It's on for about 10 minutes. And that's what this is being expanded from. It stars Essie Davis, who plays Amelia, and Daniel Henschel, who plays her young son, a 7-year-old son, Samuel. And at the start of the film itself, it's just Amelia. She's in a car crash and kills Samuel's father. And then it fast forward 7 years later, when Samuel's grown up, and he's a very troubled kid. He has troubles at school. He seems to... He's not one of these kids who seems to get his own way, but when things don't go the way he wants them, he throws fits and he screams a lot. And Amelia can't seem to cope very well. She's got a job. She works in an institute area where she's working alongside people who've got Alzheimer's, etc. And she can't seem to cope with both elements of her working life and her son's life, especially the way he acts up. And every night she tries to tell him really nice, calming stories. So whether it be like Cinderella, where they've got like happy endings to it. One night, when telling him a bedtime story, she discovers a book called The Babadook. Here's a clip.
Her nose is broken in 2 places. She's going to need surgery.
I'll pay for everything.
Can't even pay your own bills. Look, I really have to go.
Claire, I think someone is stalking me and Samuel.
What?
A book turned up at our place. I threw it away, but somebody glued it back together and put it on our doorstep.
Amelia, I just can't help you right now.
I don't expect you to help. I just want
If you're that worried, you should go to the police. I've got to go.
Claire. Hello?
That's really quite freaky, actually, listening to that with headphones on.
Yeah, strange things start to happen after reading The Babadook to her son. Her son supposedly starts hallucinating and seeing weird things happening in the house, when in fact it's actually affecting Amelia more so. And that's where I'm going to end it. I'm not going to explain the film anymore. Now, the thing with The Babadook is, this is a very brave film from Jennifer Kent, with it being her directorial debut, trying to handle a subject like this. Even though it's got a very small sort of like seed, it's actually a big, huge, massive blossoming tree, because the complexities of what's on offer in this film, it is really astounding for a first-time director. It's the kind of thing that you would normally expect somebody like Guillermo del Toro to handle. because he's able to branch out with something like this much more expertly than a lot of these people are able to do. Now, Jennifer Kenchi's worked alongside people like David Lynch, which you've got elements of Lynch in this film itself, but it's also very similar to films like the Juan Antonio Bayona film, The Orphanage. This is horror at its finest. It's not the horror that you would normally expect, like an Annabelle, where it's quiet, 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 bang. You get absolutely none of that at all in the Babadook. You get no stupid somebody popping out of somewhere or anything like that. You get nothing of that at all. What you get is what Ty West does with these films. He slowly burns the film for the first 45 minutes, where you attach yourself to the characters, you understand their plight, their turmoil that they're going through, and then he starts to peel away, and underneath it, that's when the darkness creeps in. That's when it gets fully under your skin, and you start to feel those nerves just catching you. You're thinking, what's going to happen next? You start to actually get captivated itself by the evil presence that's on display. And she handles this with such aplomb. She manages to zap away the colour that some directors would interject into these films when it doesn't need it. The palette tone of the film is lots of greys and very muted blues, and there's only little hints of colour in pictures here and there that Samuel creates. And so the film itself is the best horror film of this year. Easily the best horror film of this year. It's up there with movies like The House of the Devil and Innkeepers and The Orphanage for me. I love these movies that creep on you and don't rely on the stupid thing that we're seeing a lot of loud bangs. We don't need that to be scared, to feel tense. We need good storytelling and proper full-on tension like there is in The Babadook. The one thing I will say is, when I walked out of the cinema, this might be a film that might split opinions. And I think the people who get horror will get this film more so, because I overheard a few people saying Annabelle was a much more scarier film. When I was tempted to turn around and say, are you stupid? Annabelle was not a scary film. The only reason why it was scary is because you're probably one of those idiots who goes to see horror films and is not a horror fan just so they can see the bang scares and giggle at it. That's not a horror fan. That's somebody who's trying to pretend that they're a horror fan. A horror fan is somebody who gets these kind of films. So if you are a true horror fan, you will really like it. If you are one of these pretend ones, then just steer away from it. And I just want actually nothing to do with those kind of people.
I did want to ask you, because you were saying about it being expanded from a short story.
I
was reminded of Frankenweenie, which, although it's not a horror thing, does have horror elements, but it's also expanded from a short. And the problem with Frankenweenie, I found, was that it felt like it was something that had been stretched out to a feature-length film from an original short story. Is there any sign of that with Babadook?
No, because it's just like with Andreas Muschietti, who did Mama, under the guise of Guillermo del Toro. Mama definitely felt overstretched because his was a 2-minute short. And the idea that he had, it felt more like Darkness Falls, the Tooth Fairy film. This one, because she expands more on the characters and fleshes out the character more, it's actually miles better than the short, which is a rare thing to see, because you would expect it to be very, like, it grates the more you watch it. It just feels lacking. That's not the case with the Babadook.
Okay, cool. So also released this week, we have Serena, which is the adaptation of the book by Ron Rash, by director Suzanne Bier, or Bier, I'm not sure, I think it's Bier actually. You have in the movie, Bradley Cooper plays George Pemberton in 1929, sort of just after, literally sort of days after the stock exchange fall. He is the sort of the owner of a lumber company that is sort of going through. You have obviously men out working that are cutting down trees for timber and lumber. He is sort of managing his company, which is in a bit of a sort of dire straits with the bank and such. And he sort of ends up very early on in the film, very quickly, he meets Serena Shaw, played by Jennifer Lawrence. The two of them engage in a romance and are married. She, being the only surviving member of a family of people who were involved in lumber business as well, similar thing, her family ran it and she knows it. She's obviously sort of haunted by a past in the way that happened, that all her family died in a fire. They're married, and she sort of is brought into the fold as his kind of wife and partner and equal in the business, a rare thing at that sort of time. And she's brought in to sort of help run things with him. At the same time, all the things that are going on around the business, you have issues with a woman that George was involved with previously. You have Galloway, a sort of an experienced hunter played by Rhys Ifans, who is there sort of leading him, hopefully searching for one of the last sort of jaguars in the area. As George wants to sort of tag one of them himself, he wants to get one himself, and you have this sort of ongoing thing as well of the sort of the little bits of kind of infighting and sequence between the characters that sort of lead into each other and affect each other because of what certain people know and what certain people keep quiet. Meanwhile, as well, there's also this the sheriff in the local town, played by Toby Jones, who is against all of the forest being cut down and wants to instigate a sort of national park. And there's all this thing going on that he is then trying to get one up on George and look at his possible illegal dealings in order so he can arrest him and stop that from happening. Here's a clip.
Keep your eyes closed. Step down. Watch your head. One more. One more. Okay, wait. On 3, you could open your eyes. 1, 2, 3.
That's beautiful, George.
And that's just the start. I bought an amazing property in Brazil.
Brazil?
Yes. Virgin forest for hundreds of miles. Mahogany. Raw and beautiful. Completely untouched. Can't find something like that in America.
You want that, don't you?
More than anything.
I never thought I'd find you. I never thought I'd find anyone. Really, you have no idea.
So, the thing with Serena is that it's a drama. It's not a big epic thing or anything, but it kind of feels like it should be an epic. It's shot with these amazing visuals of the sweeps. The clip you heard there, if you're able to see the clip, because it has been released online, you can see it, and it shows an example of just how visually well shot this film is, and the sets in it that look really well. There's sets and houses that have been built and such, and from the inside and out look incredible. Really good craftsmanship, really good work. And all the look of it and the feel of it is really good. The acting in it is okay, and this is the thing that's interesting. Apparently it's been some 18 months or so in development, in editing, after being filmed. This was all filmed. Jennifer Lawrence had only just done the first Hunger Games film, and was actually an issue is apparently that during the making of this film, because it was outside a lot of the sound had to be redone because there was planes flying overhead and such.
I have a little interesting fact, a trivia fact, which I'll say what it is once you've finished your review of the film.
Well, I might be about to say that apparently they had to, because at the time when they wanted to redo the audio, Jennifer Lawrence was already filming the second Hunger Games film, and was obviously tied into contract with that, and they had to pay the production company, they had to pay Lionsgate to basically hire Jennifer Lawrence for a day to redo the audio, and the cost of hiring her for a day was more than the cost of the entire budget of Serena.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
So I think that Lionsgate saw them coming on that occasion, but obviously they needed that to get the film done. But the thing is that with this, it does have this feel of an epic film that has been cut down. It's a weird thing because it has this amazing epic look to it. It's kind of, at times it reminded me of, believe it or not, Australia. The movie with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman, a similar kind of thing, out back, sort of at the edge of the frontier at that sort of time, and it reminded me of that, but not so much the grittiness of it, but unfortunately, not so much the drama, but the melodrama of it. This film is quite heavily steeped and dips far too much into melodrama, with all these characters that have these certain things happening to them and all these things. They're kind of weird stereotypes, but not. And they have these weird things, got the person who's like this, the person who's like this, the person. You could literally go through and tick them off a box, tick them off in a book, and go, okay, we've got this character, we've got this character. And the thing is, it's not a bad film, but it just feels as if, its running time is less than 2 hours, and coming out of it afterwards, I thought it was okay. I felt, though, that I'd been watching it for longer than I had, and I felt, though, that it should have been more. So it feels as if there's been a lot cut out of there, because there's a lot of focus on Jennifer Lawrence's character and Bradley Cooper's character, but not so much on anyone else's character. And some of the things happen in it where you have a character will suddenly change their mind and do one thing, and then change their mind and do another thing, and seems a bit out of place. I don't know if this is anything to do with the book or if it's just the adaptation of it, but it just feels as if it's not as dense as some of the wood that you see them cutting down. It feels very hollow, and you want there to be more in it. It's not, as I say, a bad film, but at the end of it, I came out of it and I was genuinely quite exhausted after watching it, because it was a hard watch. And I don't think that's down to the story. I think it's down to the lack of story, the lack of things happening in it, because of the fact of that it's not boring, but you kind of want more to happen, because it's all down to very stereotypical archetypes of the characters.
It was originally going to be directed by Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, and I get a feeling that he would have done more to it. I think it definitely would have been a good half hour longer under his rule,
probably,
his
yeah.
direction. And on this occasion, I think that might have been a better thing. And I don't know if this sounds bad, this sounds sexist, I don't intend it to be like this, but being directed by a woman, I think it does find itself, she does tread far too much into melodrama, and not focus on the story. She focuses on the characters, and in a good way that works, but not in this time. It's too much on all their, it's literally like bad thing happens to this person, bad thing happens to this person, and it's very outlandish, and it really feels more like a little bit strung together instead of having this epic thing to it that it wants to be.
Yeah.
No other questions?
Nope.
Okay, well, that's it for this week's cinema section. We're back in just a moment with this week's DVD and Blu-ray home section.
From page to screen. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, now that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting and about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. You're into the home release section of the show. Coming up, we're reviewing these films.
Yes, we have the movie version of Mrs. Brown's Boys, entitled The Movie. We have a big screen version of the American version of the Japanese character Godzilla. We have a drama in Hide Your Smiling Faces. We have a small Brit sci-fi film with The Anomaly. And then we have a comedy horror with All Cheerleaders Die.
And on top of that, we have our TV movies of the week. Movies of the week now, considering that we cheat. And we also have our overall movie of the week. But let's kick things off as we normally do with the Blu-ray and DVD top 10. Yeah, and it's overrun by Disney films. So at number 10 is The Jungle Book.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is the Disney thing. Yeah, what else can I say?
Before I go on to number 9, what is lacking from the top 40 is See No Evil 2. That didn't get in the top 40, but Wrong Turn 6 did.
Oh, God.
Exactly. At number 9 is The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, another Disney classic brought in by this offer. I mean, it's one of the more musical ones, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and at number 8 is Sleeping Beauty.
Again, another Disney one, which is I think it's not amongst my favourite ones. I don't think I've seen it for years, and I don't remember it as being an especially brilliant one to me.
Yeah, and it ties into the film that's coming up a little bit later in the chart itself. And number 7 is A New Entry for Walking on Sunshine, which is not a Disney film.
No, but
feels like it.
It's worse than a Disney film. I'm sorry, but it's just awful. I'm not a fan of musicals, but even people who like musicals have got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, and it's probably across that title, so you don't have to actually watch it. At number 6 is a film that you're making me want to see by the end. I've got to see anyway by the end of the year, just to see if it's going to be a combined top 10 worst list. Is The Other Woman.
Yeah, because it's just terrible. It's one of these films that tries to be about women empowerment and yet has no female characters in it that are particularly likable or anything that. I mean, they're just horrid characters, horrid people that you don't care about.
At number 5 is a new entry for 3 Days to Kill.
Which is, I mean, is the top 10 just full of rubbish films this week or what?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's awful. It is produced by Luc Besson. Should be like a warning to anyone. Just, I mean, if it's like directed by Luc Besson, then consider it. If it's just produced and written by Luc Besson, then no, avoid it. It's Kevin Costner at his worst as well. It's McG at his, typical kind of level, and it's just rubbish.
At number 4 is a new entry for Northern Soul.
We haven't seen this, but we'll try and watch it for next week. If it's still in the top 10, then we'll be able to go through it. If not, we will maybe give it a quick mention.
At number 3 is Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow.
Which I did honestly really enjoy. We're getting into decent films now, and there's a reason why they're decent and they're at the top, because they're decent. And it's a good Tom Cruise science fiction film, which is more intelligent than the average science fiction film, and doesn't sort of insult the audience by being intelligent.
At number 2 is Frozen.
Disney offer again. It's Disney at their best, back to classic style and with musical numbers and that Mary Poppins feeling.
Yeah, and the Frozen character is in there with that TV program Once Upon a Time or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it is that they've kind of gone into that. They set it up at the end of the last season, and this season they are going into that as a new introduced character. So
please don't say you watch that program as well, because I know you watch a lot of American television. I'm hoping that's not one of them. I'm taking that as a yes. Do you watch stuff like American Horror Story then, or not?
I don't. No, my other half does, but I don't.
So you don't watch that yet? You watch Once Upon a Time? Yes, there's a lot about you then, doesn't it?
Once Upon a Time has Robert Carlyle in it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but American Horror Story has a psychopathic killer clown. I know which one I prefer. And at number 1 is the new entry for Maleficent,
which I'm not a massive fan of. I don't hate it. I don't know. I wouldn't even say that I dislike it. It's an okay film, but it's not brilliant. And I think a large part of it is down to Angelina Jolie's performance in it, which is lackluster at best. I think it's a bad performance from her. I'm sorry that some people really seem to like it and like her in it, but I don't think she's great in it at all. I think it's a very nicely sort of written around the events of the Sleeping Beauty story, and it's kind of, the untold side of it that you haven't seen before thing, and and just it's another one of these things of rewriting history, and we don't need it.
Yeah, I sort of agree with you. I did like Angelina Jolie for the character of Maleficent. She was very much like Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, but her performance is just there's something wrong with it.
I think everybody else, Sholto Copley especially, he gets something like 3 or 4 lines of dialogue to say throughout the film, and he's so wooden. He could have been Pinocchio. The same as Elle Fanning. I don't think her character is very one-dimensional, just like the love story between her and Prince Charming. It so was shoehorned into the film that the malevolent part of the movie, where Maleficent sort of like changes around from being evil, being good to evil to back to being good, was so badly rushed that it was, what was the point?
The one thing I did think in the writing of it, I thought was very clever, and I don't know if this might be a slight spoiler. It's early in the film, so it's not a big spoiler if it is. But there's a thing where she tries to undo a spell, and it's down to the wording of it. I thought that was very cleverly written. But aside from that, there was nothing in the film that stood out for me as being particularly brilliant.
There's a few little bits and bobs which looks a little bit nice, but Labyrinth has got better stuff than Maleficent, and Labyrinth was released in the 80s.
Yes. Talking of which, there's someone in the chat room who repeatedly I have told must watch Labyrinth, hasn't seen it yet.
Even I've seen Labyrinth. So that's it. You need to see Labyrinth. So yeah, you watch Labyrinth and try to twist Andrew's arm into watching American Horror Story instead of Once Upon a Time. Right, Mrs. Brown's Boys the movie is the first DVD and Blu-ray we're looking at tonight.
This should be good. I'll
yes.
sit back and enjoy this.
It's directed by Ben Kellett, and it's written by and starring Brendan O'Carroll, who plays Agnes Brown. If you watch the TV series, you know who Agnes Brown is. She is known as Mammy. She lives in a house with a few of her children. She's annoying. She's just really annoying. And in the film itself, she owns a fruit and veg stall in this part of London, which she's friends with everybody. They all seem to get along, etc. However, each one of the stalls is getting closed down because this big, huge, massive, maniacal company who's run by these Russians want to make a shopping centre where these carts are, these fruit and veg carts are. And so this forces Mummy into sort of like going up against these people. She gets a big shock when she discovers she's got a tax bill that's just below 4 million euros, and she needs to try and find a way of paying off that, including, this clip will point out one stupid way of getting into finding a receipt that belonged to one of her ancestors.
It's all up to you now, son.
So, what's the plan, Damon? See that restricted area over there?
Over there?
Don't point. Sorry, Damon. You walk over with me. When we get there, you do something to distract the security guard. We'll slip past them. You have it, Damon. Can I help you? No. I'm grand.
Now, if that clip made you laugh, you're an idiot. No offence, actually very much offence. You are an idiot if you laughed any time during this film. The thing with Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie, is it's not as bad as the Keith Lemon film. I don't think anything can actually reach that level. It is still pretty bad because it's a comedy without any laughs. But it's not as annoying. I hate the TV series, and I don't know why it grates on me. I can't put my finger on what grates on me. I don't know whether it's the character or the people who populate the program or whatever. But the film itself, it is pretty bad, actually really bad, to be honest. But it didn't grate on me as much. I hated the stuff where the character spoke to the screen, Agnes spoke to the screen doing like a soliloquy. It wasn't needed. I thought it was stupid including the mistakes in the film when you've got a gag reel at the end of the movie which shows some more mistakes as well, so the kind of stuff that they just didn't want to include in the film, but they thought it would make it more funny and thinking that, there's an audience watching it. Like with the TV series, it's filmed in front of a live studio audience. I always wanted to say that. But the film obviously isn't, so they need to try and find a way of shoehorning the stuff that would have in a TV series into the film itself. It has a stupid nonsensical plot that drags out so much that they find every tiny little nuance to extend it beyond its capacity. If this was like an elastic band, it would have been stretched so much you would be able to get it from us in the UK to people in Australia. it stretched so badly. The film, it's just pointless. It was just a cash cow so they could extend the life of Mrs. Brown's boys. And it's something that should have just been majorly put to sleep. It's terrible.
That's not quite the rant I was expecting from you. Come to sort of hope for.
Yeah, it is, because it isn't as bad as something like the Keith Lemon film, or Jack and Jill, or anything that spins off from a TV program into a film. They are pretty bad, and it's not on that level. It's very close to that level, so close that if it reaches out its finger, it'll be like E.T. going ouch. It would have actually been able to touch it perfectly. But yeah, it's not as bad as that kind of stuff, but it is still pretty dire. Pretty Danny dire.
Oh, don't go there. Okay, we'll go on to Godzilla then, which is Gareth Edwards' big screen adaptation of the Japanese character. This is obviously an American one. It's got centered around American characters. The main character of which is Ford Brody, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. At the very start of the film, we see him as a young kid. He's there with his parents. His parents played by Bryan Cranston and Juliette Binoche, who are sort of people that work at a nuclear power plant in Japan. There are these weird earthquake things that are happening, and there is a reactor accident and a leak that happens and results in and this isn't a spoiler because it's right in the opening credits, and results in his mother being killed. Cut to 10 years later, he is now in the an EOD explosives sort of disabler. What they call it again? Is it explosive ordnance?
Something like that.
One of these people who goes in and finds a bomb and then takes it apart and stops it going off. He is one of those in the army. His father is sort of, him and his father are sort of estranged. His father's still sort of investigating things. And Ford is returning home to his family, to his wife, played by Elizabeth Olsen, and their son, and gets a call to go out to Japan and to see his father because his father has been arrested for trespassing on area that's sort of now marked as contaminated and not safe. Here's a clip.
Look, I'm tired of talking to you about this. I want my son. I want to see my son. I want to know that he's all right. This guy knows. He knows where he is. Musku wa doko da? I want my son. And I want my bag and this. And I want to talk to somebody in charge, not you. No, not you. I'm done talking to you. All right? Well, you're looking at me right now like I'm in a fish tank, right? That's fine, because I know what happened here. And you keep telling everybody that this place is a death zone, but it's not. You're lying. Because what's really happening is that you're hiding something out there. I'm right, aren't I? My wife died here. Something killed my wife. And I have a right to know. I deserve answers.
So, of course, there is a thing of that he's right, something was covered up, and then it goes into the whole thing of then what's really going on, and won't say more than that, but if you've got an idea from the trailers, you know what Godzilla's about, then you have an idea what it's about. And the thing is, Gareth Edwards got this job because of the fact he did Monsters, which is a small little film he filmed independently, went on location and added a load of effects himself and did that to it afterwards and added these creatures and things like that. And it got the attention because of the fact that he was able to do so much with so little. And he's done a lot here with Godzilla, and not just effects wise but also the story and such. I'm not the biggest fan of this. I saw it at the cinema and I did enjoy it. I really got into it. It's great on a big screen. It's great with big sound. And now, I'm not saying you have to see it like that, but I'm saying definitely it's a diminished effect if you're watching it on a home screen and you're watching it with a home sound or even surround sound. You need to have good sound, have it good turned up, and really have like the base and everything up for this, because it is a monster feature. You've got the main characters there, but it's not really about them. It's more about that going on. But the thing is, I would say, is that it does, I think, focus a bit too much on them, and does this thing of a lot of films do, where it focuses on the characters more than focusing on the monsters in this case. And there is enough in there to keep you interested. But I think that the second time around I've seen this now, the first sort of half hour of it, for me, honestly, dragged quite a bit, and I was just going, get through this and then get on to more things happening and the scale of it getting up, because there is a sense of scale in this. It is big, and I don't just mean about the monsters, I mean about the whole thing of every scene is quite big and where they are, what's happening and stuff. It doesn't at any point feel cheap, and that's a good thing. But I didn't like it as much as I did in the cinema. And I think that is because of the pure scale and the size of it, which it needs to be on a big screen. It needs to be with big sound. That's part of it. It is an atmospheric thing. It's the same thing as like Gravity. If you see Gravity and you see it in 2D on a small screen, you didn't see it on a big screen with sound and with the 3D, it's a diminished effect. And I'm afraid, unfortunately, that's the same thing as it's diminished on home release with Godzilla, not seeing it in the cinema.
I haven't seen it on a small screen, but I have to disagree with your first half an hour, because I think that's the strongest part of the film. I thought. I just felt like it flowed much better in the first part of the film with Bryan Cranston's stuff. It's just in the second bit when it concentrated on the Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. I just felt that that's where the film itself fell apart, because it became something of a different film. It became something like. Gareth Edwards' vision of the Godzilla movie was the first half an hour. The last 2/3 of it was the studio's visions of the Godzilla film. It was their vision of making it more blockbuster friendly, whereas you could tell that Gareth Edwards wanted to tell more of a storyline that involved more emotion, rather than just being something that was painted by numbers. He wanted it more involving like his previous film, Monsters, rather than the Godzilla film that was directed by Roland Emmerich.
And I mean, it's definitely way better than the Roland Emmerich's version. That was just pretty bad, but it's the thing of there is more of a old-fashioned feel to this. It definitely is more respectful to the material and more like the original material. But as I said, when I saw it at the cinema, I liked it, and I agree with you on that. But then, having seen it a second time, I just found that a large part of it, especially early on, just for me, I just found it dragged on second viewing. And it may just be that it's second viewing. It may just be because I was watching it on a small screen. It might be both of them. But for me, it didn't work as well around the second time on the small screen as it did in the cinema. The thing for me, as I say, it is a big sound and vision thing, and if you don't have that to it, you don't get half the effect, I don't think.
What I might do is I might actually watch it before we do next week's show, just to see what it is actually like on the small screen.
It will be in the top 10 for definitely. You know,
definitely
it's going to be in the top 10, yeah. And I'm not saying people shouldn't buy it if they want to buy it, because it is a good film, but it just, for me, second time round, diminished effect.
Because I was planning to watch it today before we did the show, but I got sidetracked by a few other things I needed to do, so I didn't have enough time. But I will try to watch it for the next week's show, just to see if I agree with you, or if I actually liked the studio part of the film rather than the Gareth Edwards part of the film. It's just that's the way I saw it when I went to see it at the cinema. Next up, this is when we get into the smaller films. Hide Your Smiling Faces is directed by Daniel Patrick Carbone, and it's a very simple premise. It centres around two brothers, Tommy and Eric, played by Nathan Varson, who plays Eric, and Ryan Jones, who plays Tommy. They live with their mother. One of their friends, Ian. He's only referred to Ian once in the film, but his character is Ian. They find him dead. He's 9-year-old. They find him dead with a bullet wound in his head, and it's just about how they managed to come to terms with the death of a friend, and the fact that they have found his body face down in the river itself. They think that his father might be involved with it, because his father is a very loose-stringed character. When they go to his house, for instance, their dog, keeps barking. And there's a scene where the father brings back the dog to the house and says, if I catch your dog barking outside again or on my property again, I'm going to shoot it. So they think that he's a very loose-string character, a very violent character. And it's just them trying to come to terms with how they could find out if the father was involved and how they handle the fact that they've seen their friend dead. Now, the movie plays out a lot like what Richard Linklater did with Boyhood. It's a very stoic pace to the film. It's not one of these films where you expect to see multiple dead bodies, lots of gore, things like that. It's not that kind of thing. It's a character piece. It's a study of how young people handle death in a way, especially death of a friend, and even more so when they discover their friend themselves. How they come to terms with it, how they handle it, how they get on with their lives, what affects them, whether it be, there's a scene at the start of the film where you just see them sitting in a tunnel in the rain rather than going back home. So how that changes their aspect of their lives, how the younger brother sits in his older brother's bedroom listening to his music all the time rather than being out with his friends. He'd rather be with his brother and get with his life rather than his own life. So it's very well acted by the two actors, Ryan Jones and Nathan Varson. It's one of those movies which needs to fall on those shoulders. And a lot of directors get warned, never work with kids and never work with animals in films. But when you can manage to work with kids and they manage to show an acting skill better than some of these adult actors who's been doing it for multiple years, who've gone to acting school, then you've got something special here. These two are definitely actors to look out for in the future. When I go over my TV movie of the week, there's an actress in that who definitely needs to be looked at in the future because she's a fantastic little actress. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on these two actors because I suspected that I'd seen them before in films, and I tried to delve into their filmography and I couldn't find any films that they've been in that I've seen. But it is very well acted. It's very slow paced, but that's intentional, and it's just a brilliant character piece, a brilliant character study. And if you like films like Boyhood, I definitely suggest you watch and hide your smiling faces.
Do you remember their actors' names? Do you have them?
Yeah, Ryan Jones and Nathan Varson.
Ryan Jones, okay. We'll have to watch out for them then. Okay, to The Anomaly next, which is directed by Noel Clarke. It's written by Simon Lewis. I'm not sure how much Clarke has sort of had influence on that on the script, but he's directed it and starred in it as Ryan, main character who we're introduced to very quickly and abruptly as he wakes up in the middle of a situation in the back of a van at the very start with a girl who's being held hostage. He doesn't know how he got there, he doesn't know how she got there, he doesn't know anything about that. He just sort of wakes up in the middle of the situation for a short amount of time before blacking out again and then waking up again in another situation later on. It turns out this is happening again and again because it's a side effect of something happening where he's basically being controlled by someone. And it's a sort of a thing where he's then got to figure out what's going on and try and solve it and stop things happening, because it only happens once every so often and gives him so much limited amount of time to be able to try and figure it out and get out of the situation. It's not a groundbreaking idea or film by any measure. I mean, the idea's been done before similarly in things like Gamer and that kind of thing, and it's an okay thing, but the problem that it does have with it's competently directed by Clarke, but the problem is that he does focus a lot more on, it kind of falls into Michael Bay's traps of using slow motion a lot for fights, which is unnecessary, and it actually is very sort of, oh we're going to have a fight now, let's use slow motion. And these kind of, you can almost go, right, fight, okay, that's slow motion, yep, okay, yep, we've got this kind of shot, yep, and it kind of falls into those traps of the set thing. It doesn't bring anything new to either the story or the idea or the direction of it. So it's not a brilliant film, it's not a bad film, it's just that it's okay. And it's got, I mean, you've got in the cast, Noel Clarke is perfectly fine in the lead role, you have in there as well Ian Somerhalder, and you have Brian Cox in a small role, and it's okay, but as I say, it's not groundbreaking by any measure. Not a bad film, I did enjoy it, I do like it, but it's just a case of that it is really just a B-grade movie it has sort of big aspirations but doesn't really do anything about sort of reaching them.
Right, final film. All cheerleaders die. Directed by one of the strangest directors out there, Lucky McKee, who did movies like Mia, which is a really strange movie starring Angela Bettis, who is friends with somebody and she starts to piece together a sort of like mannequin, a Frankenstein kind of thing from pieces of human beings, eyeballs, etc. And it comes to life near the end. It's a really strange movie. He also directed a film called The Woman. But it's a comedy horror, and it centres around a group of cheerleaders at school who sort of like the top of the ladder of cheerleaders, and there's one who was trying to infiltrate these cheerleaders so she can get back at her ex-boyfriend, who is he's an absolute pain in the bottom, to be honest. He's this guy who walks around college or school where they're at and thinks that he is Mr. High and Mighty. However, a bad thing happens when he actually punches one of them in the face, kills her, chases after the group of girls at this party. They end up in a really bad car accident, and then this witch, this outcast of school, decides to bring them back to life, imbuing them with powers, and they become very psychopathic. However, he becomes even more psychopathic than them. Yeah, it's that convoluted with the.
It sounds like one of these spoofs, like Not Another Teen Movie, because it's got these things from all these different kind of films.
Yeah, here's a clip for the film.
Hi guys, Terry, how's your hand? Punch his girlfriend in the face. I mean, you know, that shit could hurt the puncher as much as the punchee, so.
Maddie and I had a little fling over the summer. Guess she's still a bit sore from it.
All right, we're gonna go. We'll see you guys later.
Remember the buddy system, girls.
There's only one outcome when people play games with me, Maddie. They lose.
Playtime's over, Terry.
What happened last night?
You know, before last night, I was just gonna ruin your senior year, but now, I'm gonna have to kill you.
Just watch your mouth, Dyke.
Now, the character of Terry, who you heard in that clip there, he's horrible. He's really horrible. Just like some of the girls, the cheerleaders, but they're obviously trying to get their own back on him. However, in the last, I would say, 15, 20 minutes of the film, it goes really nuts. It's sort of like what Lucky McKee loves to do with these movies. He is a strange director, and he likes to take the normality and then just inject it with LSD. Because that's what he does with this. It is like just injecting a normal, ordinary puppy with LSD and seeing it run around the place, crapping itself, and just biting people's ankles off and doing stuff like that. That's what I would probably guess Lucky McKee is like on set. He's like Roger Rabbit, bouncing around probably. He is nuts, and his films just is like him. There are elements of the film which is actually pretty entertaining. The film itself is pretty bad. It's not like bad as we normally have in this section of the show, where we always have the basement of really bad movies. It doesn't belong there because there is some really interesting ideas in the film. There is just not one single likable character because everybody is out to just harm everybody else in the film. So there isn't anybody who you root for in the movie. You just want to see everybody die, to be honest. So it's...
Well,
if you like, look...
title then.
Yeah, well, some of them aren't cheerleaders, obviously. They're male. You can get male cheerleaders, but they're like jocks. They belong to the football team. But if you like Lucky McKee films, you'll probably enjoy this. His last film, The Woman, is a complete different thing to this, because that's a very serious film. This one is just him going, I want to make a movie where it's just absolutely nuts. And there is definitely going to be a sequel.
Is that The Woman with Michelle Yeoh?
No, that's The Woman with Pollyanna McIntosh.
Okay. I'm thinking of the one. It might not be called The Woman. I think it was The Woman. The one... was that Luc Besson actually directed that? Because it's like a drama set in Japan.
Maybe,
Or
but
China.
yeah,
So, yeah.
this was Pollyanna McIntosh, who was in a film called White Settlers. But yeah, it's nuts. It's really nuts.
Okay.
It's the Lady Gaga of films. Right. TV movies of the week.
Okay, I've done it again.
What did
You
you
know
do?
what I did last week where I had two films and they were on at the same time?
Yeah.
I've done it again.
Why?
Well, because I've got two films that are on. One is on 9 o'clock and one is on 10 o'clock on Sunday, the 2nd of November. At 9 o'clock on Film 4 is The Departed, which is a long film but a very good film. It's the Martin Scorsese one with an all-star cast: Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon, and Leonardo DiCaprio. And it's a good film. And then at the same time, at 10 o'clock on Channel 4 is Shame with Michael Fassbender, which is an infinitely better film but a very, very different film altogether. So it's your choice as to which you want to see. If you want to see a sort of really good, sort of quite convoluted crime thriller, then watch Departed. If you want to see a film which is a good drama about addiction, but it's quite gritty and quite hard to watch in some parts, about sex addiction, then watch Shame, because that's really, really good. And that's Shame is directed by I can't think of his name now. Went on to direct 12 Years of Shame, 12 Years a Slave.
Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen, yeah, who did that again with Michael Fassbender, and it's a fantastic film. So if you've got the option, record one, watch the other, or pick one. But unfortunately, sorry, they're on the same time.
Yeah, I'm going to really cheat because I've just seen another couple of films, so I've got four. In that case, my first one is Rec 3 Genesis, which is getting its premiere on Film 4, which is on Friday the 31st, so Halloween, at 20 to 12. It's
a lot of horror films over the next week, obviously, for Film 4.
I would say it's the worst out of the Rec series, to be honest, but it's got some really good ideas to wait for Apocalypse, which is the next one, which is out, don't know, to be honest. My other choice is another Film 4 film. It's on Film 4 on Wednesday the 29th at 9 o'clock, Beasts of the Southern Wild, and this is the one with the actress Covenzia Wallace in it. She's in the new Annie movie, but it's a fantastic, fantastic drama. All hinges on Covenzia Wallace's character in the film itself, and she handles it brilliantly. Just how she lives on this island with a lot of people who are very similar, like her, very poverty-stricken people, and how they have to survive against these tidal waves and things like that coming to crash into where they live. It's brilliantly acted and absolutely beautiful to look at. Now, the other two that I've seen, and I'm going to absolutely trump your films on Sunday, because these two are also on Sunday, even though you should watch Shame, because Shame is fantastic. Piranha, which is the Alexander Aja remake, which is on Channel 5 at 10:50 next Sunday. And before that, The Cabin in the Woods. It's on Channel 5, 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's... Yeah, all these films on Sunday night. Well, Cabin in the Woods is a fantastic... I mean, that's written by and produced by Joss Whedon.
Yeah, and before that, even though I don't suggest you're watching it because it's on at the wrong time, you've got Beetlejuice as well. It's on the wrong time at 7:15, so it'll be edited. Watch the 15 rated version. But still, how's that for a triple bill? Beetlejuice, The Cabin in the Woods, and Piranha. All on Channel 5, a channel that gets ridiculed. Well done, Channel 5. I'm going to be watching Channel 5 next Sunday, and we're not doing a show until next Monday then, if that's the case. Even though I own all three.
Obviously, I'm not sure of the next Monday anyway.
That's it for this week's show. Your movie of the week.
As much as I have grudgings about certain parts of it, Fury.
And mine is easily The Babadook.
Yeah.
The
I knew that was coming.
Duck. Yeah, I really want you to see it.
I don't like horror though, so...
Yeah, but it's not the horror that you would normally expect, the bangs. It's the horror where it's very creepy. It's the creepy kind of horror.
That really helps sell me on it.
Yeah, I really want to see what your reaction would be to The Babadook. I definitely want you to see it. Right, that's it for this week's show. We will be back either Sunday, which is not going to happen because I'm going to sit in front of the TV and watch those three films that I said there. So if it's not Monday, it will be never. To be honest, Tuesday probably, because that's the other day that we normally leave for. But we will be back next week with movies including Horns, which we're going to play out with a clip of that, and Ouija, and Nightcrawler, which looks really good. The Jake Gyllenhaal film. Make sure
tomorrow.
And that's the reason why we're doing the show tonight. Make sure you check out our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can find updates on trailers, new trailers. Now, a couple of trailers went up during the week, including a small little one called Avengers: The Age of Ultron and Insidious 3. They were both released around about the same time. So I feel sorry for Lee Winnell with these.
I was going to say, as soon as it is released, also we should put up Fast and Furious or Furious 7 as it's
which is supposedly getting released next Sunday at lunchtime at around about midday. So keep an eye on mondaymovieshow.co.uk for that. You can also get in contact with us on Facebook, facebook.com/mondaymovieshow, Twitter @mondaymovieshow, Andrew's @EHDVD, even though you're very little on Twitter anymore.
I do check it, I just don't do much on it.
Yeah, I'm at Cryptic Tadpole. You can also email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. We would have a phone number, but we don't want any dodgy messages. Make sure you also check out followingthenerd.com, from page 2, the number 2, screen.com, and the fantastic charity that we've supported for a couple of years now, which is the soundfoundation.org.uk. And Gia, who runs the Sound Foundation, he's got some new rugby shirts that he's just designed, and they look fantastic. So head over to there.
I feel I should also give a shout out to RNIB, the Royal National Institution for Blind People, or for blindness. I'm not sure exactly how it's said, but because I did a sponsored run for them on Friday night, and it was good and it was fun. But they raised, I think it was about £10,000 or something altogether there. So really, really good to see that happening, and you know, it's another charity that's worth supporting as well.
You should have mentioned that on last week's show, then you maybe would have gotten a few more extra little donations. But that's a good amount of money, that, over £10,000. So
I think it was that. I think they said something about that, yeah. So
pat yourself on the back for that.
I didn't raise it all myself. I just raised.
I know, but you were involved with it in some way, shape, or form. I've always wanted to do like a run for charity or something like that. But well done to the people who do that kind of thing. Nothing but respect for those kind of people. But yeah, we'll be back next week with the show. We're playing out with a clip from Alexander Aja's Horns. So until next week, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lee.
Huh?
Everyone in this town is going crazy.
Oh, town's always been crazy.
No, but I think it's because of me and these goddamn horns.
Yeah. Wait, what?
The horns? These horns?
What are you talking about?
Wait, can't you see them? Are you high right now?
You been hanging out with Terry?
So maybe the horns just don't work on good people.
Yeah, I think you've been under an inhuman amount of stress recently. And maybe you're just starting to go a little, little cuckoo.
But if I'm this crazy that I can imagine of this, then I could easily have got so drunk that I blacked out that night and killed Marin and just forgot all about it, right?
Ba ba duk duk duk.